Our entire world runs on digital trust, from our banks to the blockchain. But what is that trust actually made of? Well, it's not a handshake or a gut feeling. It's pure, cold, hard math. Today we're going to break down the core ideas from the book, Hash Functions and Digital Signatures, the math behind trust.
Just so you know, the concepts we're diving into today come straight from this guide, which really unpacks the mathematical engine that's quietly powering our modern security.
Really think about it for a second. When you download a software update or transfer money online, you're not shaking someone's hand. You're interacting with these totally invisible systems. So how do we prove anything is real, that it's genuine, and that it hasn't been tampered with? Well, the answer is to replace that old-school human trust with cold, hard mathematical proof.
So let's kick things off by really framing the problem we're trying to solve here. What does it actually take to build trust in a world that's made of ones and zeros?
See, this is the absolute key. A computer doesn't believe that a website is Google, it verifies it. It doesn't feel like a transaction is legitimate, it computes it. Digital trust has nothing to do with emotion. It's all about verifiable rules and algorithms that prove something is what it says it is. To get this right, you really need to nail three things. First up, integrity. Is the information I'm seeing exactly as it was sent with no changes? Second, authenticity. Did this message really come from my bank, or is it a clever imposter? And finally, non-repudiation. This is a big one. Can the person who sent the message turn around later and claim, "Nope, wasn't me"? If you can solve for these three, you've got yourself a trustworthy system.
All right, let's tackle that first pillar, integrity, with a really brilliant mathematical tool.
So what is a hash function? The best way to think about it is like a unique digital fingerprint for any piece of data. It's an algorithm that can take anything, a single word, a picture, an entire movie, and shrink it down to a unique code of a fixed length.
For example, look at this. If we take the word trust and run it through a common algorithm like SHA-256, we get this specific string of characters. And here's the cool part. No matter how many times you hash that exact same word, you will always get this exact same fingerprint. It's totally deterministic.
But here's where the magic really happens. Watch what happens when we make one tiny, almost unnoticeable change. Just by switching that capital T to a lowercase t, we get a completely different hash. This is called the Avalanche Effect, and it's what makes tampering so incredibly obvious. You change one single byte in a huge file, and the entire fingerprint changes. And just like that, integrity is solved. Boom.
Okay, so hashing takes care of integrity. We know the message hasn't been messed with. But how do we prove who actually sent it? For that, we need something like a digital seal, one that's literally impossible to forge.
The solution is this brilliant idea of a matched pair of keys that are mathematically linked. First, you have a private key. Think of this as your secret digital seal that only you have. You use it to sign things. Then you have its matching public key, which you can share with literally everyone. It acts like a public guide that anyone can use to check a seal and prove it could only have been made by your secret private key.
So here's how you actually sign a message. First, you create that unique digital fingerprint, the hash of your message. Then you take your secret private key and use it to encrypt just the hash. And that resulting encrypted hash, that's it. That's your digital signature.
So how does the person on the other end check it? Well, it's actually super elegant. A receiver uses your public key, which you shared with them, to decrypt the signature. That reveals the original hash you made. Then, they take the message they received and hash it themselves. If their hash matches the one from your signature, it is absolute mathematical proof that the message came from you and hasn't been changed one bit.
I know this might all sound a bit abstract, but trust me, this combo of hashing and signing is the invisible engine that powers pretty much the entire modern internet. Let's look at how it's built into the technology you and I use every single day.
That little padlock you see in your browser? Yep, that's your browser verifying the website's digital signature. When you download a software update, your device checks the signature to make sure it's an authentic file from Google or Apple, not some piece of malware. And in the world of crypto, every single Bitcoin transaction is signed by a private key to prove you actually own the coins, and is literally everywhere.
Now, blockchain takes this whole idea and just cranks it up to 11. Imagine each new block of transactions gets hashed. That hash, that unique fingerprint, is then included inside the next block. This creates this beautiful interlocking mathematical chain. So if someone tries to go back and alter an old block, its hash will change completely, right? Well, that would break the link to the next block, which would change its hash, breaking the link to the block after that, and so on. The entire chain would just unravel, making any tampering instantly obvious to the whole network. Now, there are different ways to do this, different algorithms. RSA is a classic. It's built on how hard it is to factor enormous prime numbers. But for blockchain, ECDSA is the undisputed king. It's based on a totally different kind of math called elliptic curves, which gives you the same level of security, but with much smaller, more efficient keys. And that's perfect for a massive decentralized network.
So this system seems pretty much bulletproof, right? But what happens when the very tools we use for computation change dramatically? What's the next great threat to all this mathematical trust we've built?
And that threat is quantum computing. See, our current security relies on math problems that are incredibly hard for today's computers to solve, but a powerful quantum computer could, in theory, solve some of them, like the one RSA is built on, exponentially faster, threatening to break the whole system wide open.
But hey, don't panic. The smartest cryptographers in the world are already way ahead of this. The next big frontier is something called post-quantum cryptography. It's a whole new generation of algorithms based on different math problems that we believe are hard for both our regular computers and quantum computers to solve. It's all about future-proofing our digital trust.
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Our entire digital world rests on a foundation of math that is intentionally difficult. The ongoing challenge, and the future of all of our security, is making sure that our math always stays one step ahead of our machines.